I need to protect what I have. Now, I may not, I'm working this job, and over the course of working over the next 20 years, that may be $1 million that I bring in from my family and my other goals. Well, I don't have it in my back pocket right now, but guess what? I should. Exactly. So that's why I protect that. But, utilizing these things, because if I want to go get a car loan, or if I want to get a mortgage at some point, you understand that if my credit is shot, then I'm going to be charged excessive
subprime rates.
Right.
Which is going to cost me more to get that particular product.
Exactly.
Because of my credit.
Right.
It's palpable. So you're saying insurance companies that we go for, we should look at their rating.
Yeah.
Because not every insurance company has a AAA. And you're saying AAA is about the excess finances they have.
Correct.
To pay out. Blessings to everyone via way of YouTube, Facebook, and any other platform that this podcast is being aired on. Welcome to Change Your Life podcast again. And we really want to send blessings your way because we know that God is in the blessing business. I really want to say that this is an opportunity for you to engage and to connect with what we're doing here at CLCC. And I want to invite you to a service 10:30 a.m. every Sunday where you'll be richly blessed and inspired and uplifted, which is very, very important. This month, we're dealing with a subject matter of life and legacy. Life and legacy. And I really think this conversation is important and pivotal because life and legacy is essential. The Bible says that God is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He's a generational God. And so legacy is very important and very pivotal. So we're going to have this conversation so we can inform and inspire you in your everyday life and in your walk. So you can just be connected on that level. And I'm so pleased to have a special guest that is in the studio. Andrea Hill is with us. And so glad that you've come and you're sharing with us. And thank you for being a part of what we're doing.
Yes, it's a pleasure. A big part of what I do as an insurance and financial services professional is educate the community at large. So like you said, we're just having a deeper dive into that conversation. And so I look forward to sharing what I've learned and what I can impart to believers everywhere that are tuning into the podcast.
Awesome. That is exciting.
Yes.
I want to ask you just a little bit about yourself because, as you mentioned, you are a professional and you have a wealth of knowledge on the subject matter of life insurance and legacy and those things that happen. Can you just give a little bit of your background? And you grew up in New York?
No, I didn't.
In Texas?
Yes, I grew up in Texas, and so I've lived in New York City for the past 15 years, I want to say, and a majority of that time has been spent in the service industry.
Wow.
One of the ways that I originally got here was I was working with the company AT&T Mobility, and I was helping people to solve problems then with regards to just learning how to be more, get more functionality, get more done, and kind of trim the fat. Okay, so I went from helping people to solve problems within the business and their communication needs, their technology. And now I get to help people in a more impactful way because I'm not just working with business owners. I'm working with people like you and I.
Wow. So did you study? Did you go to college and study this, or was it something you learned and sort of went through the ranks?
You know what? It's something that I learned and went through the ranks. again, I've had a multitude of service industry experience over the last 15 years or so. But I started my insurance and financial services practice about 3 years ago, so 2022. And so, yes, my background, my university education definitely helped with that. Because there are a lot of nuances within this business in this industry. But I worked my way up the ranks. I got licensed about 3 years ago, and I haven't looked back yet.
Awesome.
And recently, in addition to being a licensed life insurance agent, I'm also a registered rep. Okay, so it just means that I'm also licensed to advise and impart knowledge with regards to securities and investments. So just trying to, continue to add and build so that I can continue to add and be of value to the community at large.
So you're multifaceted in terms of this industry, and you have a skill set in different areas. You're a Christian and a believer, which is very impactful. Can you give us just a brief overview of your Christian journey and your beliefs?
Well, that continues to evolve, but it is evolving in some of the most wonderful ways now. Where I started in my journey as a young woman moving to New York City, God has covered me like throughout this journey. And my faith has grown tremendously in that time just because the peaks and valleys of adulthood, living in a big city like New York City. And
But
so
Houston's pretty big.
Dallas. I'm from Dallas.
Dallas
Is pretty big.
Dallas is huge. I was there the other day, but the population isn't as condensed as New York.
Right. It's a little bit more spread out. You need a car.
You need a car.
Right. You need a car. Whereas like New York, like it's very densely populated. I can go out of my brownstone in Brooklyn and there are hordes of people. So it's just a different culture.
Sure. Excellent. Well, welcome. I know you're here now.
I should be telling you welcome.
Yeah, that's true. See, that's true. Absolutely.
Right.
So, what inspired your interest as it relates to legacy and life insurance?
Okay.
Where did that come from?
Well, I'll tell you this. I definitely had a firm hand and a model with regards to it. My sister, who's based in Texas, she's got an assortment of licenses from real estate to insurance, to just a number of things. And so she had always kind of been in the background, saying that, hey, I really think that you are a person that could, cover some ground with this. Okay. This may be your bag, your wheelhouse. And, it took me some years, to kind of take heed and take that advice. But she was the first person that really kind of poured that into me. But, even before her, um, life and legacy, before even starting this journey, I had been impacted by the loss of somebody, my best childhood friend.
Oh, wow.
She passed away at 27 years of age.
7.
Yes. And it was
Illness or an accident?
it was an illness. It was an illness.
Yeah.
And I don't think I even understood the complexity of it. And I didn't think that it was something that would be life threatening or to where, it would be a fatality.
Sure.
But, during that time, and just kind of understanding that this is all very fleeting. And Cameron, she was a huge believer. And even, leading up to then, she just said, hey, if it is in God's will, what he would have for me. And his will was for her not to be suffering anymore.
Sure.
And even though, the people that love her, continue to suffer or grieve her not being here, that was a big pivotal moment and something that stuck with me, just understanding that, hey, we plan to go way out when we're 90 or 100, but sometimes that's not it's not how life works. And so just dealing with that, being impacted. This was somebody I knew from age 9 until 27, and she had a child when she left. So that kind of definitely
Right.
fostered a fire inside of me to say, hey, these are real life things, and we have to start talking about.
It's real, isn't it?
It's real.
It's real. Sometimes when we get into legacy and life insurance, it sounds like the far out, but actually, it's something that is very much,
Right.
at our doorstep, and we really don't know how long we have. Your friend that you mentioned, um, she lived till she was 27.
Mhm.
Uh, but I believe it's about both impact and longevity.
Mhm.
Now, obviously, we want longevity and impact, but at times there are short lives that make great impact.
Right.
Jesus died at 33. So
Right.
we're not necessarily promised to go to 90 or 100. I always teach that longevity is grace. Every
Yes.
day we live is grace.
By the grace of God.
Yeah, it's not that we deserved it. I
Right.
mean, we do the best we can, live healthy, and do what we need to, but it's not, necessarily true that we're going to live for a long period of time, and that makes what you do very, very important.
Mhm.
But I can tell that your friend made great impact.
Yes,
The way
certainly.
you speak about her.
And she was someone, like you said, it's not the length of your life, but the
Yeah.
impact in that time. And she was someone always, even as a child, that impacted. So that definitely stuck with me. And, she didn't just expire, but there were months kind of leading up to it. So again, when we're young, we don't think that we're going to have some type of long-term care event to where, we can't get out and make a livelihood or take care of our family. We don't think about these things.
Yeah, it doesn't
And
come into
so,
yeah. And again, I'm seeing, and you would have a better handle on this, but I'm seeing that younger and younger people are getting, for example, cancer
mhm,
and illnesses that you would expect in the more developed
later
age
years.
are actually now becoming more prevalent in younger people.
Mhm.
Now, obviously, modern day science, technology, and medicine does give a longer lifespan, but we're still seeing this happen. Yeah, have you experienced that in what you do?
Um, you know, well, definitely. I've run across, young people that with certain health challenges to where maybe now insurability is an issue, or maybe if we have a prevalence in our family history, like breast cancer or prostate cancer, things of that nature, to where people, they're being vetted by these insurance companies. And so, we're definitely seeing things, earlier, young women or that are young 40s and being diagnosed with breast cancer. And
Wow.
yeah, so we're seeing that things are a lot more prevalent right now. Yes, and so I see it. And again, that is definitely, sometimes it can be a challenge that I have to overcome within the role that I play, because again, I help people to solve financial challenges, and whether that is life insurance, whether it's some disability insurance to protect their income earning ability. It could be a number of things, but all of it is going to be with the thought to protect against death, illness, or injury.
Wow. So
So,
it's there as a protective mechanism, which I think is really important. Going back to what we was discussing in terms of your friends, which was your inspiration, the
mhm.
catalyst that got you doing what you're doing, which I think is so pivotal and important, particularly for us as Christian believers and also for our communities
Yes.
at large. Um, but I wrote a book on 12 steps to overcoming grief.
Mm.
And it's my latest book, actually, called Crown to Conquer. And again, it's something that we have to really deal with. And I'm sure in what you do, it's an area you have to look at people who may go through grief or face these type of challenges. So as much as you're giving product and securing them, you've still got to look at the compassionate side of what you're dealing with. How do you get that balance? How do you deal with
You know what? I am still navigating that.
it? Right.
Why? Because, I'm in a business of people. It's very personal. And people have different motivations, it's different emotions that go into it. So how do I have stories, and I have stories of, other situations that I can kind of paint the picture for them. Um, but how do I navigate it? Again, it's a people business, and so people, they're it's personal. It's
And your
personal.
faith helps, I'm
Yes,
sure as well.
definitely.
That would be a real important aspect
My
of it.
faith, my own experience in dealing with grief, and again, experience in helping others navigate that. It gives me a well-roundedness to where I can take a piece from everybody and kind of and put it in what I do and how I impact people.
Yeah, because grief is something that can never fully be understood to me until it's experienced. When you experience it, as with your friend, it really just makes a real difference. Can I ask this question?
Yes.
I was told, and I don't know how true this is, so you can give me that revelation, but I was told that insurance companies use a very sophisticated system based upon your ethnicity, based upon where you live, and very various factors, and they can usually, barring a dramatic accident, pinpoint when you're going to die, or very close to. Is this true, or is it a myth?
I think that's a myth.
Really?
I think it's a myth. Now, insurance is it is very fact-based. It's a lot of statistics. You have actuaries. So you have people that are behind the scenes, heavy math guys that are, looking at the data based on certain age groups, certain health ratings that people get. But no, it's a misconception. Me as, again, an insurance professional, um, ethnicity isn't even something that I input on an application.
Okay.
Okay. But during the underwriting process,
Yeah.
that the health evaluation process, yes, there are some things that become known on the back end as far as hey, you're going to disclose things about your medical history to us,
Okay.
or you're not. And then some people make the mistake of not disclosing that. If we don't disclose it, then we don't think that you're honest. You're not being very forthcoming, and that doesn't make you the best risk. So actuaries really do it, but on the back end, is the underwriting process, is it biased? I wouldn't say so, because I've seen a myriad of people, people of color, people on the other side of that spectrum, to get, great health ratings, or to even be not insurable at all.
Wow. So there's none of these dynamic metrics where they could predict when a person is most likely to pass away. That's just a misconception.
Well, no, that's not a misconception. That's what the actuaries are for.
Okay, so that's the underwriting
Right.
process.
And those are the people that study the statistical data
Sure.
based on health ratings that certain people get.
Yeah.
And they say, hey, based on this health rating, and this pool of people, they're projected to live until 88, 89. So you have actuaries that look at data based on people's health ratings, and then they will make certain assessments, and they'll group people
They
based
do
on.
have a pretty good potential understanding, knowledge of, because there's a new app out, actually. I don't know if you've heard of it. Have you heard of there's an app out that a lot of people are putting in that predicts when they will die?
No.
There is. I don't know if it's accurate or
Right.
what it is.
There's a lot of stuff
Yeah, there's a lot of
online.
stuff happening. So
Right.
we look at that one. So okay, so that's how that insurance goes. Because I remember when I've taken out life
Mhm.
insurance, they sort of send a doctor around,
Mhm.
and so you put things on your insurance when you're taking it out, but then afterwards the doctor comes around and tests everything, and they ask you questions: Do you smoke? Do you
Mhm.
drink? Would you exercise? And then they assess you, and then they know whether or not the insurance is correct or not.
Right, right. They will test it by a couple of things. You will, verbally, affirm or, disclaim saying, I have these various health ailments or I don't or no, no, no. And okay, so, but yes, they reconcile it against a couple of things, like the Medical Information Bureau. There are certain things that are, if you have been to a physician frequently, you have medical records, you have notes that these doctors, so all of that leaves a fingerprint of sorts. Okay, so
A
every
criteria almost.
a criteria or a paper trail. So we'll answer the questions, and then they will evaluate you sometimes with fluids so that they can say, okay, well, they gave us these responses. Now we've tested it. Now we see BMI, these things. We want to know what type of risk you are. Are you a risk are you a good risk, or are you a liability to a degree? Are you someone we want you to be someone long term, because again, insurance is predicated on age and health. And going back to those actuaries, it's on a mortality table. The closer I am to age 100, well, if I'm 70 and I'm looking to get insurance, well, it's a good likelihood that I'm going to kick the bucket, and it could be 10 years, it's the likelihood that it's going to be
So,
20 years is.
so I'm going to ask that.
Mhm.
That's a really important angle that you brought out. Well, you brought out about three, but let me look at these angles. So you're saying that if somebody goes to an insurance company
Mhm.
at the age of 70 or 75, the insurance company would say, no, we're not insured.
Yeah, a lot of companies, you would be very you'd be very pressed to find an insurance carrier that is writing for someone past 80.
Okay.
Someone past 85, in some cases even past 75. And so the likelihood, we all expire. And so,
The maths ain't right.
right. And at that point, if we waited that long, you may as well be self-insuring.
But you see, because I believe that, and tell me if I'm wrong,
Hmm.
I believe that you should run life insurance alongside investment. So you have life insurance, which is obviously to protect your family and to take care of your legacy.
Hmm.
But you should also have personal investments as well alongside it. So you've got two running together.
Yes.
Well, what's your thoughts about that?
Um, right, because I never suggest to do one without the other.
Okay.
You always have them in tandem.
Okay.
And honestly, life insurance is such a foundational thing. Like you mentioned, yes, if I have assets, if I have liabilities, if I have a mortgage and I have a family, yes, you need them running in tandem. You're saving for retirement, or you have a brokerage account. Do I still need life insurance? Yes, because we all have a very real need. At the end of the day, we're all going to expire. So, yes, so you always have them running in tandem.
Okay, so you have it running. So you have
Right.
investments, life insurance running
Right.
tandem.
So I'll tell you this. Okay. I liken it to a financial house, and that's what I help people do: protect their financial house. And we like to take a holistic approach to it. And typically, when you are starting with a home, where do you typically start in the home building process?
Where do you start?
Mhm.
When building a home, with the foundation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the foundation, okay? And then you can move on to the different layers
Sure.
and aspects of the home. Insurance is the foundational piece. It's
True.
the protection piece, because I may not have everything right now.
It's great defense if we was likening it
It's
to a
so
sports.
it's defense. So
Yeah.
that's what it is. It's your protection planning should be defensive
Right.
first.
Yeah.
I need to protect what I have. Now, I may not, I'm working this job, and over the course of working over the next 20 years, that may be $1 million that I bring in for my family and my other goals. Well, I don't have it in my back pocket right now, but guess what?
The
I
insurance
should.
does. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's why I protect that. I don't have it right now, but I'm trajected to. So I want to encapsulate all of that in my protection and my foundation, because it makes no sense. Foundationally, if I don't have certain things in place like life insurance or disability insurance, or a debt management system, or an emergency savings fund,
Yeah.
it does no good to be going to the other aspects of that home, like accumulation, like investments. If I don't have, the money for an emergency, emergency that pops up.
Yeah.
So the foundation is key, because that allows us to rightfully and efficiently springboard to the next set of goals that we have.
So the investment side is more of your attack, if we're liking in the example to a sports game. So you get your defense correct. So that would be your life insurance. You said emergency fund, which I really like, which should be 6 months, do you believe?
Yep.
6 months of your monthly outgoings.
Of your expenses, so that if something happened, like we all experienced COVID in 2020. And, there are a lot of clients that I sit with, and they say, my emergency fund was depleted during that time.
Right.
But that's, what you have it for those times that, we didn't account for it, but these things happen. And so you want to set yourself up. So foundationally, in those defensive solutions, and then once we have a good defense, we can worry about a good offense.
And of course, with an emergency fund, many things can go wrong. Car tires blow out, or something goes wrong in the house, or you got to quickly travel somewhere or do something, and you need the emergency fund to cater for that. And then you replenish it if you use it, don't you? So I think that's a great strategy. So what else can you put in your defense? You can put your life insurance,
You could
your
put
emergency fund.
You could put your emergency fund. You could, do I currently have some individual disability coverage?
Right.
If I am a breadwinner for my family, or if I'm a high income earner, I'm an engineer or a physician.
Is that Wellman? Again, I'm thinking UK. So we've got an insurance called Wellman. And so if a key man, Keyman. Yeah.
No,
Keyman,
but Keyman is something that is one of the solutions that, in speaking with the business owner, that I may help them to create Keyman insurance. So no, it's different, because Keyman is life insurance.
If you're the main person in a company or a structure, and that organization relies on an individual, then the key man, if something were to happen with that individual, the key man insurance.
That coverage would pay out tax-free to go into the business, so that it can withstand the loss of that key man not being there.
So that's a defensive move as it regards to a company, isn't it?
Yes.
Or an organization. Yeah. So anyone who has a company out there, Andrea Hill has just said how important key man insurance is, because if you're so crucial to that company, and there's a lot of small business owners, sole traders, and they really need that insurance, because if anything happens to them, God forbid, the company would be severely hindered, because they're so dramatically important. I was looking at the other day when Elon Musk, who's pivotal for Tesla, when he was having issues, Tesla shares were declining quite rapidly, because obviously he's very key in what happens with Tesla. So there are some people that have their companies, they're very important. Keyman insurance is great as a defense for Your whole
That's
basket of insurance and different strategies.
right. In different, you have key man, you have deferred compensation plans.
Which one is that?
Deferred compensation plans. It's basically a plan that you can put in place for someone that is key or pivotal within your business, and it's deferred. So in the future, we have a certain outlay that you'll get from this.
Okay.
Or so deferred compensation or defined benefits plan. So there are all sorts of things that businesses may come to an insurance company to help with some business continuity planning.
Wow.
Okay. So
That's nice. So we're speaking about good defensive strategies, emergency fund, insurance, key man. Are there any others?
yeah, so that's for business, key
Yeah,
man,
key man
okay?
business.
But if we're just talking to a
But
person or a household or just a business professional, so the things that you want in the foundation or in your protection solutions, it does consist of life insurance, whether that's a term, whether that's cash value life insurance. It looks like having IDI, individual disability insurance, to protect my income and my ability to earn that livelihood. If I go down due to an illness or an injury and I still got to have $5,000 to pay the mortgage or to pay for child care, that putting those things in place, it looks like monitoring my credit,
that's good.
monitoring my credit, making sure.
Credit's so important, isn't it?
And how much credit how much debt do I have? But yes, monitoring my credit, because again, in that foundation, if my credit is shot, just like I tell people with life insurance too, like you don't go get life insurance after you've been through the ringer.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. Even like talking about credit, or the debt, staying under that 30%, or the credit utilization,
Usage,
yeah, staying under that 30%, because
25 is good as well.
right,
Yeah.
and that's even better.
Yeah.
But utilizing these things, because if I want to go get a car loan or if I want to get a mortgage at some point, you understand that if my credit is shot, then I'm going to be charged excessive
Subprime rates.
right.
So it's going to cost me more to get that particular product
Exactly.
because of my credit score.
Right. So keeping all those things under the hood, again, making sure I have an emergency fund with 6 to 9 months of expenses in the event that something happens. It looks like all of those things. So having some insurance, having emergency fund, monitoring my credit, managing my debt, having a debt payoff strategy. So all those things that, again, I want to protect myself in the event of death, illness, or injury.
That's
so
good.
we try to minimize or mitigate as much of the risk that would happen as a result of those three things.
And then we can go on the attack because we got those areas covered.
Right. And then we can go on the attack once that foundation is sound.
That's
to
beautiful.
build on.
I love this. Listen, we're speaking about legacy, life and legacy. And Andrea Hill is dropping some real gems here in the studio. Going back to this discussion on credit, is there a type of score you think is important, or do you believe just monitoring your credit and having it placed in the right?
Monitoring it, and I mean, obviously, 700, like the traditional. It's always great to have a high credit score, but just making sure, ensuring that you're not overly leveraged, because again, those things play a big part into if I want to go buy something or if I want a loan. Just understanding that one hand washes the other, and that if I want to be able to have full functionality or to be able to strike out and do things, get a loan, well, it requires that I have certain checks and balances.
Because it's the cost of credit. So credit costs more when your score is lower.
Right.
And the areas that you got to always cover as it relates to credit is pay on time. Any debts that you do have or bills, you got to pay them on time. Defaults are a killer, and court judgments as well. really plummet your score. So we've got to really guard that. I think that monitoring your credit score is important because at times there are um, things that come on your credit score that you didn't realize. There's a lot of people that look at their credit score and goes, "Oh, why is that there?" Or "I did pay that on time," and they have no idea. So I think getting in touch with all the credit houses, there's 3 here or 4, I think, and making sure that they're all correct. Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion
Yes.
spring to mind,
Yep. Mine.
and they're all different, aren't
Right. They're all different. And, so this is one of the things in the financial house, but somebody may decide to find a credit solutions expert that can help them to monitor it and get certain things, negative things impacting their score off. I suggest people to do their own research with regards to that, maybe even look at personal referrals in their network. But there are groups or organizations that can assist with that. That's not necessarily what I do within the scope of my
it?
practice,
Absolutely.
but at the same time,
It's a part of the whole spectrum of legacy.
the full house. So taking a comprehensive look at everything to say, okay, are some gaps. These are some areas that we may need to shore up and close up so that we can be on to
The next level.
Yep.
Yeah.
If our goals are, I want to pay for my kids' schooling, or if I want to pay off my mortgage early, or if I want to retire early, whatever that looks like, put yourself by getting that foundation of your home in order. It is going to put you in a position of power that allows you to scale up and scale out.
That's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. I'm going to ask you another question. What would be, or in your opinion, the reasons? I think you covered one, age. Are there any other reasons why an insurance company would refuse insurance to an individual or refuse a payout, which is even more important?
Well, okay, so let's start out on that. Refuse a payout. Okay, so most insurance policies have a 2-year contestability period, okay? So if they were to find something in that 2-year contestability period to where you were not being truthful and you did not disclose something, or willfully omitted something and something transpired as a result, they could look at that and they could say, "Hey, you know, due to this person not being forthcoming and getting, trying to get coverage under false pretenses," that could be something that's looked at. It could be researched, but it doesn't mean that they'll automatically deny that payout. If you are doing something illegal,
Sure.
if you're caught in,
So it's fraud.
right. So, right. Well, and not even, no, if you are, if you are caught up bank robbing and
Oh, so if you commit a crime.
if you're committing a crime and you die while committing that crime, the insurance company is saying, "Hey, we're not gonna be paying out for felonious activities that you went
So
out."
someone goes out and gets in a gunfight because they're trying to, or does something risky. The insurance company will go, "No, you died, but you tried to rob the bank and got killed in the process."
Right.
They're not paying out.
Right. So something like that, yes. If you're doing criminal activity, yes, that will be the time that they would not pay out if you died in the middle of a police shootout. Like, no, they're
Really?
they're probably going to look long and hard before they were to pay something like that out.
What if someone takes, or God forbid, takes their own life?
That happens, and it happens, and if they are past that 2-year contestability period, yeah.
So when you say the 2-year contestability, so someone passes away, do that you have to wait 2 years before?
No. So,
Okay.
no.
Okay. So they pay out anyway, but then they're leaving a 2-year open period
Right.
for any contest.
Right. So if something happened, and like if an accident happens and it hasn't been 2 years, that's life.
Sure.
So, it's meant to pay out for accidental things. And so it's going to do that. But with regards to, like I said, if they found out something was not true, based on the what they gave. The insurance company just gives you a 2-year period. If something is found out within that 2-year period, they could terminate that coverage that they've given you, whether you're expired or not. Just saying that's what that 2-year contestability period. If something comes into the fold to where we misrepresented ourselves and the insurance carrier finds out, they can cancel that contract. That would be the only time that they could really cancel the contract.
Okay.
Outside of non-payment.
Oh, I understand. I understand. So, what about if somebody withheld, say, a medical condition and then they passed away?
Well,
What would happen? Would the insurance company still pay out, or would they withhold payment?
okay, so typically, um, when it comes to that, if you're insured, they already did their vetting process.
Okay.
You've already went through underwriting. Now, if something came about afterwards, that's just, again, that's what insurance is for. It's accidental. That's life. It happens. But typically, they will have done all their pre-vetting before. Now, there are times to where, if it's less than that 2-year period, it could cause them to look into some things, and they would have to ensure that they did, good on their side.
Because I've got several insurances, and I think a couple of them just have done it on the phone. They've not come and did all the other bits. So some have and some haven't.
Right.
So whatever I've told them on the phone, I don't know if they've done back. I've told
Right.
the truth.
Right. They're not just taking you at face value. A lot of times they're still getting, because we have your social, like
Okay, there's
you
back
give.
there, yeah,
Right.
sure.
So
There's
they're
information.
doing, that's a part of the underwriting process. And let me tell you, even criminal history is something that they're looking at. Like, so they look through various things. If you're
So they have powerful databases.
they have a database to where, hey, we could see, like, if you have a long medical history of prescription drugs, like, they can see, and
That's risk.
that's risk. And so sometimes they may ask for medical records. They may ask for fluids, because they're trying to do a full evaluation to understand, okay, is this a good risk? Is this a risk to where this person is 25 and they'll have a long life, or is this a 25-year-old that is
Living a fast life.
living a fast life and is not somebody necessarily that we want to insure? So it's all about risk, a smart risk versus not so smart risk. Exactly.
That makes perfect sense. So, and insurance houses, they're obviously very good at what they do.
Mhm.
And I say that is because they're some of the richest institutions in our society.
Yes.
They're pretty much richer than banks, aren't they?
Some of them are.
Yeah.
And, the AAA rated institution that I'm affiliated with, they've been around for a very, very long time. And that does, give, that puts people at ease.
Yes.
We're not a fly-by-night institution.
They're going to be around.
Right. And
Yeah.
you just want to make sure that whomever that you affiliate with these carriers, that the promises that they make on paper, they're going to be able to deliver on them, and they have a track record of that. So, sometimes they are richer than banks, or they have, again, the AAA rating means, hey, I have enough in excess. I have enough in reserves. Sometimes we see AAA title in the name. They may be like, I'm AAA insurance. That may be the name of the company. But no, to actually have a triple A financial rating, it speaks to your financial strength.
Wow, that is powerful. So you're saying insurance companies that we go for, we should look at their rating.
Yeah.
Because not every insurance company has AAA. And
Right.
you're saying AAA is about the excess finances they have
Correct.
to pay out in the event.
It just means that, hey, to be AAA, I want to say you have to have $17 billion in reserves. And so,
Above and beyond what you're supposed to pay out.
right.
Wow.
And so it just means that, hey, if they paid out all their claims, they're still going to have this
17 billion.
excess.
Oh, they got money.
So it just means that, yes, they're in a position of power.
They're not hard up for money.
Right. They're not a fly-by-night. They strategically over, the past century, they've been able to get it right.
That is powerful.
It is.
So also analyze who that insurance company is, have a look at that and analyze what it is. Because when you get an insurance contract, there's a lot of small print that sometimes people don't look at. I had somebody that I knew at my church in London who had a heart attack, unfortunately. And when they had it, I went to visit them in the hospital. There's a member of my church. And they said, well, at least the mortgage is paid off because, there's something in my insurance that says if I have a heart attack, they pay the insurance. And then several weeks later, it was a certain type of heart attack.
Oh, okay.
So
it can be very granular.
Yeah, it had to be a certain type. And
interesting.
I was like, it's a bit
right. That is very technical.
Yeah.
No. Now, I didn't know that it could get very granular like that, but I know in certain cases where if you have like a terminal illness,
sure,
with 18, 12 months to live, like they will liquidate your policy and yes, give you access to the death benefit earlier. But no, wasn't aware of that. But
that was the UK though, so there is different.
Right, understood.
Yeah. Listen, it has been absolutely amazing, this podcast. And I've been speaking with Andrea Hill. We've been speaking about life and legacy. And it's been a great honor and we've learned so much. We'll be back next week with another episode because we want you to get this intelligence and information so that you will be armed and be able to go where you need to go. Let me encourage you again to join us for our Sunday services at 10:30 a.m. and you'll be impacted and blessed. You'll get a wonderful worship, great word, and you'll continue to drive forward. But it's been an honor coming into your home. Stay blessed and favored of God, and we will see you next week for the next episode. God bless you.
It is our desire to keep you posted on what's happening here at Changing Lives Christian Center. So please pull out your smart devices so you can take notes and save dates.
Since Resurrection Sunday, 36 people have been baptized in the name of Jesus here at CLCC. All praise to Abba Father.
Attention, singles! Changing Lives Christian Center presents Saved and Dating, Navigating Godly Relationships, a forum hosted by the Bridge Ministry, Friday, July 11th at 7:30 p.m. Join us for a real Christ-centered conversation on dating, singleness, and relationships. Hear from a panel of peers. And joining us for this discussion, Pastor Philip and Lady Candy Thomas, sharing biblical wisdom and encouragement. Whether you're dating, hoping to marry, or just figuring things out, this night is for you. Bring your questions and a friend. Sign up at the info desk after service or scan the QR code. Let's grow, connect, and pursue God's best together.
A church family is like all other families. They need to spend time together. And that's what Changing Lives Christian Center will be doing on Friday, August 1st, 2025 at Sight and Sound Theaters in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Come and experience the theatrical story of Noah, a faithful man who God calls righteous and obedient. God calls Noah to build an ark because he has plans to destroy the earth because of the horrific sin and violence that covered the earth. God was just straight out tired and through with man. He even repented that he had even made man in the first place. But God, against all odds, has a reset in mind. His reset starts with Noah and his family to build an ark. The ark would provide protection and provisions for safety, while the entire earth is destroyed by a flood that would take out all of humankind and all living creatures on the earth, except for Noah, his family, and pairs of animals of every kind. This live play is all about being obedient. Noah was obedient and Noah was righteous. And with God's reset through Jesus Christ, when we believe, we are righteous. The question is, can we be obedient? As we are all on covenant assignment for God. So while life has its challenges, God still has a mission that may seem impossible for you to complete. But that mission is possible if, like Noah, we are obedient. So if you enjoy Broadway, well, Sight and Sound has so much more to offer. It brings the Bible to life. Join Pastors Paul and Yasmin Mitchell and your church family for an experience that is sure to feed your soul. Not only will your soul be fed, but the food in PA is amazing. And guess what? The icing on the cake is that you will be spending time with your church family. Need more information? Please visit CLCC's info desk right after service and reserve your seat today with Minister Mabel Ishmael. Seats are limited. Again, you don't want to miss this play and you don't want to miss spending time with your church family. God bless you and we'll see you there.
CLCC and New York City Council member Chris Banks presents Community Outreach, hosted by CLCC's healthcare team, Saturday, August 16th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's a one-day community health fair with food, fun, free health screenings, CPR training, blood pressure testing, giveaways, back-to-school supplies, face painting, and much more. Medical professionals on site for Q&As, activities for all ages. This will be a free event, so save the date. Visit the info desk for more details. Calling all golden girls and guys. The Bible says in Isaiah 46:4, even to your golden age, I am He. Even when you turn gray, I will carry you. God is not done with you, and you are not alone. So come and join with our group to form friendships and fellowship as we socialize together. Ages 65 and up, sign up at the info desk in the lobby. Are you interested in studying the Bible book by book? Well, beginning September 2025, CLCC will offer Bible classes that will help you to grow in your walk with God. Each session will last for 6 weeks and will convene on Tuesdays from 10:30 a.m. to 11:50 a.m. Each class will be repeated on Tuesday evenings from 7:30 p.m. to 8:50 p.m. for the benefit of members that work in the day. Join us as we dive into God's Word. But before we can do that, we will need to know how many people are interested. So please take the time to share your interest by signing up at CLCC's info desk. And as we draw closer to the time to begin, we will contact you for your next steps. God bless you, and let's study the Bible book by book. Do you need prayer? It doesn't matter for what. CLCC is here to stand in prayer with you and for you. Let's take it to the Lord, for He cares about all of the needs you have. God has commanded us to always pray and not faint. His word declares that when we pray, believing, that He will always answer. So join CLCC's prayer leaders Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. That's right, 30 minutes for prayer and encouragement to start your day. We look forward to you calling into our conference prayer line, 646-769-9900. Access code 82551. Remember, come and dial believing. The Master awaits your prayer request. Join CLCC in remembrance of current world events.